All right, I sold 57 homes my first year in the industry with social media being the only form of prospecting within my business. And today I'm going to be going over all of the stuff that nobody ever seems to talk about when it comes to leveraging social media as a realtor. And everything I'm about to share with you has come straight from on the job, hands-on experience while also selling a lot of real estate. So first things first, let's talk about filling the bucket. So in any business, there's three key pieces, right? There's marketing, sales, and fulfillment. And the reality of it is most realtors never even get to the second bucket. They never get to sales because they don't do enough marketing to actually move down to sales and then eventually move to fulfillment. So for 99% of realtors, I'd say the best use of your time in business is going to be focusing on marketing, which is what social media falls under. Now, if you think of marketing as a bucket, let's just say in the beginning of your career, this bucket has little pinholes all over it, right? And leads are water. So you're filling the bucket with water and then water's escaping as you're filling that bucket, right? So for me, I still haven't necessarily figured this 100% out, but I've been working really tough over the last year to plug all those holes in my bucket. But to start, right, you would want to start filling that bucket by putting out content once a day, every day, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, and filling that bucket with water. And then eventually that water will spill over and go down into sales, right? The problem is a lot of people aren't really doing anything to fill the bucket. They're just sitting around and waiting that hopefully some water falls into that bucket without them actually pouring water into the bucket. Once there's water coming into that bucket consistently every week, that's when you then start plugging those holes by adding links to your bio, building landing pages, having a newsletter, capturing leads, retargeting the leads with your newsletter, and doing all of these other things. But in the beginning, you're going to focus on at least just getting water starting to flow into that bucket. So that being said, what type of content should you be shooting? And this is going to be different for everybody. If you watch some of my content on Instagram and TikTok, I pretty much do everything. I do property tours. I talk about real estate in the market. I talk about self-actualization. I talk about how to be a better realtor. I talk about pretty much all my interests. And those interests have changed and evolved as I've started putting out the content. Like as an example, right now I'm talking about putting out content. That is not something I would have done in the beginning because I hadn't earned the authority to be able to talk about putting out content. But as an example, if you're brand new to the industry, you haven't spent thousands of hours researching real estate investing in the market and all these kinds of things that I already did before I got licensed, that is exactly why I suggest that new agents just go out and shoot property tours, because property tours are basically a conversion ad. They're the best because they cover every aspect of what successful content is, and you can actually sell a prospect right off of the video that you shoot. So for most new agents, I would say just go out and shoot property tours. Now, if you don't want to go out and shoot property tours every single day, there's a second type of content that you can talk about where you should have the authority to speak on that certain thing, right? So, and what that is it's basically your city or your neighborhood, right? If you've lived in London, Ontario for 10 years, you know more about London, Ontario than everybody who doesn't live in London, Ontario. So you have the authority to talk on that, and people should listen to you because you know way more about it than them. So you'd be putting out content like top 3 best areas in London, top 3 worst areas in London, London versus Toronto, London versus Hamilton, top 5 restaurants, top 5 parks, 5 things that you should avoid before moving to London, and all these types of things you would have the authority to speak on. And whenever I talk about cities, it seems to be my most viral content. Like people, it's so controversial. People love to put their opinion on cities. People love to argue in the comments. If you say a city's good, 50% of people are going to say it's horrible. If you say a city's bad, 50% of people are going to say it's good. So content about your city, the neighborhoods, surrounding cities, and there's infinite amount of videos you could put out. I could probably list 1,000 different videos that you could put out just about your city. So if you're a new agent, property tours, or you're going to go and talk about your city, your neighborhood, and then maybe sprinkle in some of your interests every once in a while, whether it's music or going to the gym or whatever it is. I wouldn't make that the primary focus of your channel, but every once in a while, just so it helps build your brand, I would sprinkle in some of your other interests just so people are connecting with you a little bit easier, right? Now, there's a framework that you should use for every single piece of content that you put out. And it goes like this. And this is where I see realtors screwing up all the time, right? Like Bank of Canada or the Fed will drop interest rates and people will just like repost a news article of saying exactly that. Well, that doesn't help anybody because information is free. It's a commodity. It's everywhere. And what people really need to be able to take value from the information that's out there is they need to know what your opinion and your perspective is of that information and how they can actually implement it. So this is what I do. And you'll see this when you go watch my content now. Every single piece of content I put out, it's structured like this: information, opinion on the information. This is the valuable part that people actually use that builds your brand that will sell homes. So all you need to do to come up with content is have a piece of information, because once you have the information, all you have to do is say, what do I think about that piece of information? And then shoot the video and verbalize what you actually think about that piece of information. Bank of Canada is going to cut rates. That means in the spring, we could see more buyers come back, more competition, multiple offers might be back on the quality units, blah, 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 blah. These are all opinions on the information. Now, there's a second, part to this. Content that does very, very well is usually anecdotal stuff about the market, right? Like, I had an open house, 30 people came. 2 months ago, only 2 people came. That's an anecdotal story. So whenever you tell a story, again, you're going to want your opinion, right? I guess that would be more of information. But if you're telling a story about your life, something that happened to you, whatever the case may be, story, lesson, story, lesson. And listen, if it doesn't have any of these, if there's no opinion on the information, then it has to be entertaining. There has to be a lesson, there has to be an opinion, or it has to be entertaining. And if it doesn't have any of those, then you shouldn't post it. So next time, before you put out a piece of content that's literally a piece of information, sit there and think, is this entertaining or does it have my opinion? If it doesn't have either of those, there's almost no point in putting it out. So that being said, how do you come up with the content consistently, right? That's pretty easy. I just watch other people's content all the time. And then I think, information, or that's their opinion. What's my opinion on the information? So I just pull information from other content creators and then I give my opinion on that. But there's a framework that you should follow. And I've talked about it before on this channel, and it's the 3 pillars, right? So you should have 3 things that you primarily talk about all the time. You may not know what this is right away, and that's okay. It might take you 6 months, a year to actually iron this out and figure out what it is you want to talk about on a regular basis. But for me, I talk about real estate, realtors, and self-actualization, which is the process of becoming the best version of yourself, right? In the beginning, I only talked about real estate until I had made 1,000 videos. Then I realized my best performing videos and the stuff that people wanted to hear and listen to was about realtors, was about self-actualization. Then I realized, okay, these are my 3 pillars and I'm going to talk about these. So in the beginning for you, it might be real estate and the gym, or real estate and quitting drinking, whatever the case may be, right? Now, how often should you post? Minimum once a day. This is extremely extreme. This is the most important thing. You have to post every single day. I know I hear people out there being like, 3 times a week, 5 times a week, whatever. I disagree with that because I don't feel like you will gather enough information and enough feedback to improve your content, grow at the rate you need to grow at if you're doing less than 1 post a day. Minimum 1 post a day. And as an example, in the beginning, I was posting like 7 posts a day. And even today, I still post 4 or 5 posts a day every single day. And I'm not expecting you to do that, but you have to do at least once a day. It'll be better for your psyche. It'll be better for your motivation. You'll feel accomplished every single day. And, because if you miss the gym 3 days in a row, it's extremely difficult to go back the 4th day. And for that reason, to stay consistent forever and have a sustainable business and to continue to fill that bucket every single day, you need to be posting every single day. That's my opinion. What platform should you be using? Instagram? Use any one of them, right? A lot of people, there's a misconception that social media is only video content. It's not. It's exactly what it is. It's social and it's media. So there's video content, there's pictures, there's text-based content. All of it is social media. When you email somebody, that's social media. Twitter is social media. So you don't necessarily have to make videos. Like, you can do written content. And in fact, pretty much every piece of content that you see on the internet posted by your favorite creators was first a written piece of content, right? All of Alex Hormozi's videos are first text-based on Twitter, and then he just verbalizes that script from his Twitter, right? And this is what most creators are doing. So you don't necessarily have to make videos. You can just tweet and blog and write emails and newsletters and all of these things. But I would recommend that you do Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube, right? YouTube's going to be very difficult in the beginning. The learning curve is very difficult, and that's why most people don't get started on YouTube. But if you just did TikTok and then downloaded it off of TikTok and reposted on Instagram and Facebook, and you did that once a day for 3 months, you would see amazing results. So I would say start with those 3 platforms because you really only have to shoot 1 video to post it across 2 other platforms. Now, what equipment do you need? You don't need anything. First 2 years, I literally just use my phone. No mic, no videographer, no nothing, literally just my phone. And how long before you see results? For me, it was a month and a half, but again, I was posting like 7 videos a day. For most people, it takes about 90 days before you really start seeing results. I have one guy in my coaching program right now. He's working with about 15 buyers. I think he's signing a listing next week, and he is about a month and a half in. So in a month and a half, he's already working with a bunch of buyers. He hasn't closed a deal yet, but as early as 45 days, he has a full pipeline and potentially a listing coming up from social media, just posting once a day. So it's going to be different for everybody, but 9 out of 10 people, they do this every day for 90 days. They will start seeing results. However, most people don't make it to 90 days because most people can't be consistent on anything. But if you do it for 90 days, you will see the results. Now, for more in-depth information on this in a text-based format, I have a newsletter, the Viral Letter. You can join that, clicking the link below. I send out an email a couple times a week. Make sure you join that, subscribe. I'm that Agent Kelly. I'm making moves to move you.